In this episode of Carlie's Couch, we talk about the importance of good feedback, how to give it with tact, and how to receive it with grace.
Welcome to Carlie's Couch.
Hello, hello, hello.
I'm trying to smile like how Megan Thee Stallion be smiling, because I wish I could see my top and bottom teeth when I smile, but it's just real whatever. Do you? You can.
Yeah, but I also,
But also,
like a little kid.
Also, because, like, I be having resting bitch face, so, like, when I'm on the podcast and I'm just, like, chilling, I'm like, dang, man, I'll be looking so mad, but, like, I'm not mad. I need to remember to, like, you know, when you're really a star and, like, on a talk show or things, and you really have to just be, like, smiling the whole time and have great energy, guys. So, hi, welcome to the show. Be phony as hell.
Yeah, I was about to smile with your eyes. But
no, yes. I'm gonna try to do it today.
We gonna work on it. But I appreciate all y'all's feedback about our new edits. Y'all see we working on the setup, getting everything together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have more stuff to be doing, but it might be a while.
Yeah, so
you'll see.
Keep watching. Okay, so this week's question from the couch, pretty interesting. A lot of the same answers, but name something expensive that you think is worth every penny.
So can I say the ones I agreed with? So there's a couple of responses that I got that when I got them, I was like, yes. And that was movers, professional movers, because ain't nobody, we too old to be calling your friends over. Damo. Like, breaking my back. And no. So movers for sure. And there was one other thing that was real good too.
Travel?
No, actually, I mean, travel doesn't have to be expensive though. So for me, I wouldn't have said that one. I will say certain seats or nonstop. Like if it's a long flight, I think that's completely worth it as well. But it might have been the movers that for real was like, yes, 100%. Like, I get that. But we got a lot of different answers. So
we got a lot, and they're kind of in categories. So there were a lot around yourself and like making your life easier. A lot of people said their time, like at least 5 people said that. But someone also said their services, that they are expensive and worth every penny.
That's good. Yeah. I didn't even think about all that, but sure.
Someone said peace. Interesting. Housekeepers. I don't think they have to be expensive, but I think that that's a worthy investment.
But that housekeepers is something where it's like additional, especially when you come from like certain settings. It's like, all right, now I can clean up my house, you know. But even to pay $100, $200 to somebody can feel like you're doing something, but they be getting in there something. Though. Yeah, they be getting in there. You know how when you walk into your own kitchen, or let me not talk about how dusty my house is, but you walk in the kitchen and it'd be like little stuff like on the top of the cupboards, like little places you don't think about like that. They be in there. So I keep looking around like, dang, I need to do that, but I haven't. So
same. A good mattress, and I've heard that from multiple people.
It's just because a really bad one is really bad.
Yeah,
like the ones that are like,
because your sleep is so important. Yeah, and so that
Ooh, I'm sorry. You know, another one that's not on here actually that for yourself is really good is your hair. For women, the more expensive you actually like get your hair done, it is way better actually. So I will say that.
That is probably my bougiest investment.
Yeah, except some people in LA who just try to be funny, but like for the most part, people who really know what they're doing, who don't be having like tracks popping out and all kind of stuff. Like I remember growing up in North Carolina, like this lady used to put like relaxer at the bottom of my hair and the top, and like I had to pay extra to do the bottom. And later I'm like, you weren't even supposed to put relaxer on relaxed hair. So like, yeah, pay the money. Yeah,
just pay it so you're not out here looking crazy. And then someone said hormone replacement therapy post hysterectomy. It was like a life changer for her. And absolutely, like anything, I would say like there were also like a lot of health wise things. So like healthy food, gyms, health, like that good running shoes, absolutely worth it. Yeah. Like things like that to upkeep your health, absolutely necessary, because you either pay for it now or you're going to pay for it for real later.
I got to show you, I got tricked while I was in Detroit for Kyle and Rashonda's wedding. I went in the Nike store. It was next to our hotel. And, you know, it was like the back wall where like the boxes didn't have the top. So I'm like, okay, this is the clearance stuff. And my boyfriend picked out some shoes and he was like, these look cute. I was like, yeah, those do look cute. The cushion was like crazy. And I was like, whoa. He's like, try them on. I was like, no, I don't want to try them on though. But then I did try them on. And I was like, wow, I'm like walking on the moon. So I was like, bet. I took them to the counter. Them bitches rang up like $300, and at that point I was already up there. So I was like, ugh. I think I was like, what kind of discount y'all got? Like AAA or something. It came down to like 2 something. But also when I got home, I felt good because I hit my boy Tunde, who's like a runner who's gonna help me train for the marathon. And I sent him a picture. I was like, I got these. I hope they good shoes. He was like, whoa, those are elite. So I was like, yes, at least they're like really good running shoes. So I got to show them to you. They look cute. But I was like, okay, bet. Like, it really felt like I was walking on marshmallows. But I did get played.
Man, so I've like invested in some running shoes too. Like I went to Roadrunner and did the whole little test on my foot. I did not like the inserts, but
sometimes
apparently
when they
a lot
do
of people,
that,
I hate it.
It didn't
made
work
it worse
for me. Yeah.
So I took them hoes back because you can take them back. But I did try some New Balance running shoes, which I had never done, and it legit feels like I'm on little clouds in them things. So yes, I would say anything.
Yeah, I gotta show those to you.
Yes, I can't wait to see those. Some other things. Let's see. A privacy scrub of your social media.
More people need to do that.
Hold on.
So my friend Eddie said that, so we need the details. Because people ask me about that, and I even thought about that as being a service with Capsule. Like, but those quote retweets kicking my butt, like from back in the day, the manual ones. Yep. So it's like, I don't know how to get rid of that one, but there's definitely things you could do.
One of my friends was like, I got too many brand deals on the table, so she made a whole new Twitter.
Yeah, you might as well.
Because she texted me, was like, hey, I just I followed you from my new Twitter. That's what happened. And I was like, girl, I just followed you back because I assumed something was going on.
And I mean, at this point too, it's kind of Twitter and everything's so different that it's like, who cares? Like, it almost feels better when you have like 20 followers now instead of doing the most.
Lots of new cars, well-made cars, new homes. I don't know if I agree with that, but probably that was on there.
Yeah, homes don't have to cost as much as they do, so I'm gonna let y'all have that.
Yeah, and if you're trying to buy, I'll probably wait for the market to crash. It's coming soon, so wait for that. Then there were experiences. We got Beyonce tickets, fine dining, lots of flights, either first class or seat upgrades, travel. And then...
So y'all don't hate me, but I'm going to say, I don't know about the Beyonce tickets really being like worth being very, very, very expensive for the ones who pay super big. However, I paid more for Usher tickets, and I think those were worth every penny. Like, I left being like, wow, that was worth every penny. From Beyonce, it's like, okay, this is great. I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah, before y'all come out with the pitchforks, I had a lovely time at Beyonce. I did too. And I'm going to see Usher soon, so I will report back.
It was great, but I don't know. It was something about that Usher concert that was just fire. Like it was just fire.
I can't wait. I cannot wait to see him.
Then we got the My Son Is My King folks talking about their kids. Get out of here.
Bro, yeah.
They are expensive, though, but I'm sure they're worth it, y'all.
Yeah.
Do what y'all do.
And then I got a lot of, like, my wife, my girl, and then someone was like, women, dogs. And then this last one sounds like a good investment. Also kid-related, but private schooling and language immersion.
But, again, these are things that shouldn't be that expensive either. Like, one of my friends talk about the private school, and the kid is like 2. I mean, like $48K, and I was like, guys, let's be. I could come over and speak Spanish every other day.
Yeah,
like
let's not do that.
Like, oh my gosh, but I get it. Like, when you can do those things, great. But like, also, let's not confuse things being expensive as like they should be expensive, because quite frankly, like, school shouldn't even be costing as much as it costs. It's crazy now how much stuff is going up. So like, I'm very disgusted, and I think lately, like, we've been seeing the cost of everything go up, like eggs, and we talking about, you know, how much this costs, and it costs $100 to go outside. But, like, it really, like, I'm really, like, you know, like, dang, it really is crazy right now. So, it's not very fun.
And by saying I like the differentiation, like, it really shouldn't be that expensive. It's actually crazy, like, the cost and just how,
Food is ridiculous. Living... Man, like, it shouldn't cost as much to live, for real. And then for it to be so many arguments about people getting paid and stuff. So, like, even within my own company right now, like, I'm sending new contracts for the next year, and I'm like, the prices has to go up, like, just off the cost of living.
Has to, bro.
Like, not even the work different, but, like, the cost of living has to go up, and I want to, even for all of the people who work with me, I'm like, all right, starting Q1, like, let me up everybody's pay, because, like, it's really expensive out here. So... It's not cool, but you have to kind of go with it, I guess.
Yeah, it's an interesting development. So I'm excited to see when it comes down and how things start to even out, and hopefully everyone starts making living wages a lot sooner.
Yeah, I'm interested in actually starting to look at economics, or like, because I don't know if it's ever really like gone up and down and all that. And like when people talk about recessions and stuff, I don't understand enough to talk about it, like how the movement goes. And yet I'm like, I think stuff just keeps going up. So I don't know, but I would like to like understand that a little bit more.
I have a friend with an economist friend, so that might be a cool
let's
person
talk to them.
Let's bring them on the pod.
I got some questions.
Yeah, we need some help here, because I would like to understand
major?
it too. That was his undergrad. His major, his master's was in business, but his undergrad is economics.
I'm about to say, people who did an undergrad in economics be out here like making music videos now. So
yeah,
I'm good on that.
Well, he worked in it for a little while. But
yeah, I would like to learn about that. That would be cool to understand, like, what does it mean to be in a recession and inflation, and how does this stuff work? How does money work? Because it's not even real, and yet it's messing people up.
That's good.
Yeah, we're going to hit them up after this.
Yeah, so let's do that. But back to the topic at hand, feedback. It was a theme, like, for last week in my life. A couple of people in my life just were either giving feedback or receiving feedback. And good job smiling over there.
They're gonna be like, what is she on?
Bro, something's in that cup. But they were all kind of lamenting different pieces of it. And so I thought it would be important to share about giving and receiving feedback. Like, it's something that I don't think a lot of people touch base on and try to get better at. And I feel like it is an area of growth.
Wait, I'm sorry, but what was the first thing you said that you
a couple of people in my life were either giving it or receiving it,
okay,
like on different levels. And I just think it was interesting.
Okay, so for me, the first thing I think about, right, when we say feedback, I tend to skew towards thinking like it's a little bit, we're talking about telling somebody, like, breaking something a little negative. I think about critiquing and giving criticism, which I feel like criticism in itself means that you're saying, like, hey, something else could be done or better. And so is feedback and criticism the same thing to you? It sounds a little different.
Yeah, I was about to say, to me, feedback is like looking at a particular thing. And so maybe like more of a situation-based or a fact-based or something thing, whereas criticism just sounds negative. But then I had to Google it to make sure.
Oh.
And
what'd you find?
And it said criticism is mostly negative, judgmental, and focuses more on the problem, points out the problem without providing or suggesting a practical, workable solution. Whereas feedback focuses on recognizing the problem and then working with the recipient to come up with ways to resolve problem, correct problems, or to move forward.
But also, I think something's missing out of that, because my feedback to somebody's presentation can be like, wow, that was great. You made a lot of good points. It was very cohesive, and I think you did a great job. That's feedback still. Yeah. So I think feedback doesn't always have to be negative. But when you have a criticism,
that is negative.
That means that, that is, well, you could have did a little more, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't have to be terrible, but it does feel like it has to be a little more negative. So I like that we're saying feedback, because feedback is very helpful. I think asking for feedback is super helpful, because it gives you an opportunity for, or if you're giving feedback, it gives you an opportunity for your own needs to be met. It gives you an opportunity for your voice to be heard. So let's say if somebody's doing something for you, if they're helping to decorate your house or something, like, yes, I need to give you feedback on these ideas because I want it to reflect me, or, I want it to be a certain way. If I don't give you feedback, then I'm letting somebody else just run with whatever they want to do. So if somebody's doing something with you or for you, then that makes sense for you to give feedback and not to be scared to tell them how you feel about stuff.
Yeah, I think feedback gives an opportunity for your voice to be heard. And also, I like it because I feel like it inserts new ideas and maybe fresh perspectives onto something, whether I'm asking for feedback about a new butter formula or scent or on something else. Like, it kind of allows different perspectives that maybe I hadn't thought of or could view something a little bit differently. So I kind of like that it helps with ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's good to get in get comfortable with asking for feedback specifically, which is something that we probably don't talk about as much as like having to give somebody feedback. Mm-hmm. But I think it's really good to be asking for it because it kind of reminds you that like, I don't know everything. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like when I think about the most like humble people or people who come across as like, they're really good at what they do, like Pharrell's and different artists and things like that. When they interact with people, it's always like, you know, what are you hearing? What do you see space for? And I think that helps us to not be in a space of like being locked in our minds and just doing things the way we think. And it just helps you to be a more open person and open to having a better product, essentially. So I think that's why feedback is good too. It just helps you to kind of be a little bit more humble with it and to be open at all times.
Yeah, that's really how we grow, is when you're open. And I think criticism maybe keeps the person closed off or makes them a little more defensive. And so, yeah, the idea of always being open to things. And that's the beautiful part about feedback is, like, you might not agree, but you might be open to hearing something.
But also, if you're not used to giving and receiving feedback, when you do, it's hard. You know, the people, and it might even have been me at some point. I think I'm pretty okay with it now, but, like, that's what I'm kind of saying is like when you're not used to it, you don't take it well, period. All you hear is criticism anyway with any kind of feedback. So it's important to like practice it because it shouldn't feel like an attack necessarily.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it's hard or harder for me to give feedback because I do kind of worry about like hurting the person's feelings or how they might take it. But I know it's always necessary, and I've gotten better at giving and not being a little like, well, just being more direct with it because I do try to consider people's feelings, but also I think that it always makes stuff better. So I've been like practicing for the past couple of years of just like giving it regardless of like whatever will happen afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's gotten way easier for me to give feedback in certain instances. So like with work stuff, because I've learned like just being more direct about it is just better because when you do too much of the like sugarcoat the sandwich and all that stuff, sometimes it gets lost, like what you really need the person to do, especially if it's like a work thing. But that doesn't mean you have to be rude. So I'm like, I can say, okay, hey, I like this direction, but I think we might need a different color here. What do you think might be good? Like maybe some reds or, what? Because I always want to let people know, like, I recognize you're, like, the expert, but there's something a little bit missing, like, let's figure it out type of thing, right? So there's ways to do it, but I will tell somebody, like, nah, this isn't quite it, but let's figure it out. But then when it comes to feedback, like, I've been asked, like, by a partners or people when they ask you, like, hey, how are you feeling about our relationship or is there anything we be doing different? And then I'll start thinking extra hard. I'm like, how do you say these things without it seeming like... Because even though somebody asks you, and I guess that's also a thing too, is like if somebody asks you for feedback, you should feel low-key even easier to just say what you need to say. But at those times too, you want to make sure you're not like, let me not overreact, let me think about it, whatever. So that's sometimes a little bit harder. But in general, like, the more those things happen and the more I'm asked for feedback or the more I get feedback, the more I realize, like, giving it, being direct about it, saying how I really feel, it's just, you just get to things quicker and everything moves forward more quickly. Like, especially with a person, like if it's a friend or a partner, and then they actually like, okay, and you start seeing things change. It's like, oh, like
easy.
Yeah, let's give feedback then. I'm not asking you for yours, but let's give feedback.
In that, do you think that feedback should only be given when it's requested?
Yes, except for outside of assignment worky type stuff. I think that if it's an experience of like somebody is showing work or hey, here's the agenda, look through it. Well, maybe that kind of is asking for feedback, but in those cases, like if I have to review something or look at something, then I'm gonna give the feedback that I need to give. But I think for people, so let's say feedback can even be your girl walks out of the room in a dress and you're like, and I don't really love it. But in those cases, I think that you give feedback when people ask for it. And sometimes I think I kind of got this from you, but sometimes I'll be like, can I give a suggestion? Like I'll ask first, and then they'll be like, of course, always. And so then it's like, okay, then let me say what I need to say. Like, maybe you could try this. And that's similar to like saying, giving advice though. So, I think it's better when people ask for feedback.
Agreed.
Especially if it's like on how I look, what I'm doing, a friendship type thing. Like, don't, because it just feels like you're being judgy.
Yeah, like unwarranted judgment.
Yeah. And that's more like, feels like just criticism.
Absolutely.
Unless, wait a minute, but let's not forget, because I keep saying I want to keep it on track of like feedback can be positive, and I think we should give way more positive feedback. You know, sometimes I'll hold back from like saying stuff because I just like I just don't feel like talking, but I like that, like even when you pass somebody in the store or whatever, I'm like, ooh, your brows look good, girl, or like I always tell my guy friends, I'm like, y'all smell good. Like I got caught smelling my hand yesterday at the being at the cookout, and I gave somebody a hug, and I was like, all the rest of the day. But like, I think positive feedback we should give so much more, and like so freely and willingly. But outside of that, yeah, like if people not asking you.
Yeah, I would say the only caveat would be if it's like in a relationship and you don't think that someone might ask you for that, like if you tell them how something made you feel and give feedback, like I think that you should absolutely communicate what's important to you and what they need to know. Like, actually, I really didn't like that, or, you know, maybe this more or something. But that'd probably be my only caveat for that.
Yeah. So what are some other things that we should think about when we're giving feedback?
Well, I love that you talked about giving the positive feedback, so I always start there. I don't think that we do that enough, similar as you. And then if feedback is tough or there might be some constructive things that people have to work through, I always like accompanying it with recommendations and also positive. So, for example, glows and grows. Like, this is what was great, and then here's where we can grow, and here are some ways I think that we can do that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and that's similar to how I was saying earlier. It really is just like speaking to people respectfully, honestly. Because everybody, if sometimes, and you know how people are too, so sometimes people like straight direct, some people you need to do a little bit more. But also at the end of the day, for sure, tell the truth. I think that's very important when giving feedback. Don't sugarcoat things per se. That doesn't mean be mean, but tell the truth. And also, partly what you said at the end is like, you know, ask them like, well, what were you thinking here? Because they may have a different approach, and sometimes when you hear people's like background story to it or whatever, then you're like, oh, okay, actually that's kind of cool. And sometimes that can affect. So I like to like ask questions and maybe kind of allow them to show me like how they thought about and processed the thing that they did with my feedback.
That's always helpful. And then in that same vein, like, you know, if it is a designer or someone, or if you do have a level of expertise, like maybe suggesting things in a way that's helpful for them. But I think the most important thing is like how you say things, your body language, how you react to them. Like, what does your presence look like? What tone, what setting are y'all in? Are you doing this in a room full of people? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I know you're not wearing that.
Yeah, like, bro, that's crazy.
You sure that's what you gonna put on?
It's like, damn, they was all excited about this fit all day.
Yeah, I get caught out on my tone a lot in my faces and stuff. Okay, so I think that those are all pretty straightforward things to think about when giving feedback. And now let's talk about receiving feedback, because I think really that's the thing that we need to do more is ask for feedback and or be open to hearing feedback, because probably we get it all the time and don't be paying attention. Do you ask for feedback enough, you think?
I do in relationships and friendships and work. I don't really, well, I guess I do, yeah. I was like, because I don't really have a boss, but like with people I'm working with and stuff, yeah, I would say I ask for it.
I think I need to ask for a little bit more with work, and because it's like been on my heart for a long time. I'm like, I want to have some one-on-ones with the team members that I have to really kind of have them tell me like, okay, how can I, you know, make things clearer, the way we communicate, the way we do certain things, whatever, and just let them be able to speak freely about stuff that I could improve on. But I haven't done that yet. But I keep thinking about that, so I think I do want to do a little bit more of that. But I think when it comes to receiving feedback, you really, like, mostly it's like just get comfortable asking for it And I would say, like, ask for it and then, like, shutting up. Like, letting them say what they got to say and then be quiet. Because as soon as somebody start opening their mouth, it's like, all right, now you about to piss me off. But get comfortable asking for it.
Yeah, and when you do ask, don't get defensive. Because I know the first thing you want to do is defend your honor and explain why you did stuff, but then that kind of shuts down the communication. And so when you do ask for feedback, shut up, listen. Like, you might not agree with everything, but at least give them a space to tell you how they really feel.
And when you're not listening, like, you're really not opening up yourself to do things differently or to improve. And sometimes it's just, like, slight things. And half the time, you know they right anyway. When somebody's like, you need to work on your body language, like, I don't need to get mad because you're right. Like, you're right. Also, another thing to really practice is thanking people for their feedback. Or, like, even I would say criticism in this point, too. Like, when people give you feedback and they're saying, it would be a little more helpful for me if, X, Y, Z. Thank you, because that's helping you to improve. So if we look at things from a mindset and perspective of all of this is to help things be better, then you should be so thankful for that. And to really be in that space of being thankful and gratitude, I'm sure will, like, flip the effectiveness of receiving that feedback.
And that growth mindset, that's the winner. That's really how we get better. And it gives them a chance to help pour into you. Yeah. Especially as a leader, I think that more leaders need to talk to the people that they work with.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's like all ego for real. When you can't take criticism or feedback, and so that really kind of shows you, like, okay, I probably have a little bit of an ego problem in those spaces.
Mm-hmm. And then my last thought with feedback is this word. It's viveka, and it's a Sanskrit word that I learned in my yoga teacher training, and it means take what nourishes you and leave everything else. And so, thinking about is like people's feedback. Is this something that really matters to me? Do I agree with this? Because just because someone sees something one way doesn't mean it's complete fact. And so really sitting with the pieces that you agree with and then leaving everything else. Because sometimes it's more about them and less about you. And so, but still giving people a space to do that, but then not, like, taking everything personal.
Yeah, and to that point, that's why relationships are important when you think about what's the relationship with this person, if it's a family member, if it's a friend or whoever, and how you take the feedback too. Because even with anything that's given to you, it's thinking about, like, all right, how important is this relationship that I need to at least, like, really listen and respect this, and or maybe their expertise, and so I need to really listen. But, like, think about, like, where is that feedback coming from, and then you can deal with it accordingly. But you can always still just be quiet and thank somebody for their feedback, regardless of if you think it's out of this world or ridiculous or not, because there probably most likely is something for you to gain there. So this week, we definitely want you to, I would say, think less about giving feedback, unless maybe if you are in a position where you have people who work with you, things like that. Pay attention to how you give feedback. Pay attention to if you tend to give feedback without people asking for it. But mostly try to ask for some feedback this week. Ask somebody if there's anything you could be doing differently or better, or how they feel about something that you're doing, and see what you get back.
Yeah, I think super important. Hit us at Carlie's Couch on all the platforms, at Lextopia, at CCFierce, / Carlie Carpio on Twitter. Let us know how your feedback, giving and receiving goes this week.
Peace out.